So your assignment this week is going to be to read an article, and the article is going to be about innovative environmental artist. And why am I asking you to do this? I'm asking you to do this because in the next few weeks, I'm going to be asking you to create a rather advanced, intricate, well thought out environmental sculpture. So, in order for you to be able to do that in the future, you really have to know what they look like. You have to see what other artists have done. And you also need to know why they are made. What is the purpose? What is their goal in making this type of art? One of the most important goals, I think, for an artist is to create work which motivates the viewer to expand their way of thinking about the topic of the work. So I thought about how I could possibly explain this to you. So I'm just gonna tell you like a short story about how nature kind of creates these little moments for us to notice things that we might not have noticed unless nature kind of provided that experience for us. So as you know, I've been working at Goffstown for a long, long time. And when I leave school, I go down Mass Road and then I take a left where the prison is, the women's prison, and I go down in the hollow in Grassmere. And there are these really beautiful maple trees on the right-hand side. And I always look forward to watching them change from the green to a really brilliant red as fall moves on after we start in September and we get to October, and kind of at the end of October the trees get super, super red and they're absolutely beautiful. And it's one of the things that I look forward to as I drive home from school, to look at those trees. And as it gets closer to November, what happens is the leaves start to fall off. And about 3 years ago, when I was driving on that road looking forward to seeing the beautiful couple of trees, I noticed that there was this, the leaves had started to fall off, and so you could see a little bit more of the branches, which was sad. But then I noticed there was a huge wasp's nest. It was probably about 1.5 by a foot, and it kind of just blew my mind that that wasp nest has always been there, had been there all that season. And I had driven by and looked at that tree every single Monday through Friday day, and I had never seen it. And it made me realize that the trees weren't there just for me to notice how beautiful they were, but in fact the trees were there for a whole bunch of other reasons, to have wasps, which I don't particularly like wasps, but I'm glad they have a little home there. But for the wasps and for the birds and for the squirrels and for bugs, and the fact that the tree casts a nice shadow onto the grass that's around there, so that the grass grows nice and green and the dirt doesn't, when it rains hard, doesn't go down to the river. So the tree has all these cool, really important meanings, aside from the fact that it's just this beautiful thing for me to look at. And did I go home and write a haiku about it that night? No, I did not. But I did happen to mention it to a couple other people that I know go down that road when they go home from school as well. And they also really like looking at the big wasp nest as well. And then we get to watch the wasp nest with first snow. It had all the snow on it. It was really beautiful. And then we got to watch it fall off the tree and, turn into winter. So what I would like you to do in this project is I would like you to kind of create these eureka moments where when you see something, even though it's a day-to-day thing, like I definitely had seen wasps' nests before, but in that moment, seeing that wasp nest the way I did just made all these connections happen in my brain, and that's what we call a eureka moment. And we like eureka moments because what happens is that dopamine is released, and we get a feeling of well-being, a feeling of satisfaction, of happiness when we have those. So I wanted to show you, just in case you don't know what a eureka moment is, I'm going to show you a couple of typical ones. So this is one that you might have seen, maybe you haven't seen, but there is a woman here. So look at the picture for a minute and notice a woman. Now, in fact, there's also two women. There is an older woman and there is a young woman. So this is the nose of the older woman, and this is her mouth, and this is her chin, and this is her eye, and she kind of has like two hats on, one hat and then another hat on top of it, or like a scarf on top of a hat, and then she has like a fur coat on. And then the other woman is a young woman. She has a fancy hat. She has curly hair. This is her ear. This is her where her eye is. She's turned away from us. This is her nose, and this is her chin, and this is her clavicle. This is kind of like a necklace, and then this is the jacket that she's wearing. So sometimes when you look at it, you see one, and then all of a sudden you relax your brain and you see the other, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's an aha or a eureka moment where you see two. Your brain solves a puzzle. This is another one. This one is called the Face Vase, and I'll just give you a second to look at it before I talk again. So what we have here is two twin brothers talking to one another. And you could say that they are the negative space or they are the positive space. And then their profiles, their dark profiles, end up making the bottom of the vase. So the Face Vase. Again, a eureka moment. And that's what we are looking for. All right, so you'll have this on Google Classroom. This is just an enlargement of it. This is the second half of the paper. Sometimes we think of environmental artists as using things that are mass-produced and showing us the fact that we mass-produce too many things. And this is an example of one right here. This is actually a person, and that's their shadow. I don't know how much you'll be able to see it on the phone camera. But so this is very, very large. It goes all the way out almost to the horizon. And these are CD, compact discs, hundreds of thousands of them. And then the positive space or the negative space, however you want to view it, is the beautiful green grass. So when you look at that, you might start to feel, if you're my age, because I don't know how many times you guys use CDs, that we probably produce too many CDs. And where did they go after we threw them out? This one is also really cool. This is a new one because I look at these things quite often on the internet, and this is the first time I've seen this one. So I don't know if it's a new sculpture, just new to being up on the internet. So obviously we have a fox, and the fox is made out of all different type of junkyard types of things. I don't know if you can see the car. Here's a car right here. Here's the front of the car. This is where kind of the wheels would be, the windows of the car. And most of this looks like it's made out of car or tire parts as well. A little bit of spray paint to make the fox stand out just a little bit more. And it's kind of like a juxtapositioning of those things that are natural and wild, like a fox that should be living in beautiful, pristine woods, and the fact that it is made out of garbage, trash, found objects types of things. All right. This is what your article will look like. It won't have my handwriting up here, and it will say 6 Innovative. I just typed it up wrong. The original title was 6 Innovative Artists. And it will talk about their different types of work. A lot of them are very outdoorsy types of things. More like probably the wasp nest in the beautiful red maple tree. Some of them are kind of a combination of very natural and very detrimental types of things in our environment. And one of them is about how much we overconsume things and how we make art over those types of things. All right, so you're going to read it. And then after you have it read, you're going to obviously write a little bit about it. Write a little bit about it. So you're going to write 1 to 2 paragraphs about the article you read on the innovative and environmental artist. Include your own thoughts and reactions to the article. Also touch upon how you think the artist's goal of creating an experience in which the viewer sees things in a new way, the aha, the eureka moment, or just the fact that, you just see things in a way that you hadn't seen them before. So in which the viewer sees things in a new way is true in each of these. You only have to touch on 2 or 3 of the works, okay? You're going to type it right down here, and that will be all that you have to do for this week. And then we'll have a couple other exercises before we actually start to create your environmental art. I did want to make sure that before we start creating our environmental art that we have some color to work with. So it seemed like we were going to have color earlier because it was getting warm early, but then spring kind of took a turn and we're kind of back to it being a little bit cold. Okay. Oh, and I just want to mention this too, is that your recreations of iconic sculptures were really good. You guys made me laugh. You were creative. You worked hard. They were really awesome. I'm trying to figure out a way to pull some of them out of the papers that you sent them to me on so that I can display them. But that's been a little bit of a process. But it would be nice if you could see what your peers did as well. Okay, thanks.